Are you indeed? This is TERF Talk Tuesday. We are on the countdown now for Reformers Tree and then up to Scotland. Oh my goodness me, it's going to be amazing. This today's TERF Talk Tuesday is brought to you by the green T-shirt with female gold vinyl on it. Find it on my website. I will have to. It's just in the UK store, I'm afraid, just for now. But it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I don't even know if I can help you find it, but I'm going to have a look. Okay, so we have our first caller. Let me answer that straight away. Hello, good evening. You're through to TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hi. I am calling. I am in Chicago, and I have a 4-year-old in pre-K in the Chicago public schools.
Yeah.
And I became aware of you, I don't know, a few months back. The reason I'm calling, Kelly, is that Governor J.B. Pritzker, I've sent you a few messages about J.B. Pritzker in the comment section. I have done some investigation, and he comes from a billionaire family.
Oh, yes.
His family owns the Hyatt hotels. So he managed to buy his way into the governor's office in Illinois. And he has essentially taken over the Democrat Party in Illinois. And he has recently also taken over the political side, not just the government side.
Right.
Anyway, last year he managed to pass a sex ed reform bill, and each school district has the option to either opt in or opt out. And of course, in Chicago, they have opted in, and they have started to teach from 4 years old, the pre-K students, about this gender identity and gender ideology. And after listening to you, you've really inspired me. I am sick of this. I am not going to go along with this, and they are not going to twist my child's mind.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. What sort of things do you think women in your position can do? What are you doing? What are you able to do?
So I believe it was last week, there was a Latina that called in from Southern California. I forget what her name is, because I'm not looking at YouTube right now.
Okay.
I honestly didn't expect for you to answer my call right away. So thank you. She was talking about going to the school district and, kind of fighting for this.
Yeah.
The problem is that in Illinois is that the entire state, the state legislature, is controlled by Democrats. And who controls the Democrats? J.B. Pritzker, with all of his money that he funds the Democratic Party with.
God.
They have all voted in favor of this new sex ed law, and they just signed something else a few days ago, affirming gender affirmative care in Illinois, blah blah blah. I feel like there's very little I can do, primarily because the Chicago Public School District is a ginormous school district.
Right.
That covers primary school all the way to high school.
Yeah.
And for them to listen, and here's another thing as well, the school district board members, they're all appointed by the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Oh.
The city of Chicago is a gay Black woman.
Yeah, she's not done a great job, has she, in the city of Chicago?
No. Lori Lightfoot.
Okay.
So I have zero hope that she's going to do anything to try to turn back some of this gender ideology stuff that they're trying to teach in the Chicago public school system.
Yeah.
So I feel really disheartened because there's very little. I feel like even if a big group of parents try to get together, there's very little that can be done.
Okay.
So I feel like my only option at this point is to take my child out of public school and to either put her into some sort of private school.
Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of the private schools are also being bombarded with this ideology.
So you're 100% right. I think throughout the Western sort of cultural world, if it's taken over in state schools, it's uh, public schools or private schools are not far behind. And so, even though some of the private religious schools are also teaching this nonsense, even sort of Catholic schools, I very much doubt
Yeah.
Islamic schools are teaching it. But then that's a whole other ideology that you might not want to put your child into. Now, I'm just going to
Hmm.
ask you. So, you found out about this when, like, roughly a few months ago?
Well, because I enrolled my child in pre-K, and so I started kind of becoming more aware of this stuff because of of my daughter.
Yeah.
And little by little, that's when I learned about the sex ed law that they had rewritten to include. It primarily starts in the kindergarten age,
Yeah. So,
and
so
they
what
are
I'm
essentially.
what
Mhm,
I'm going to get to, right? What I'm trying to get to is that once you knew about this, you wanted to do
yeah.
something about it. And I would say, whilst you sound like a remarkable woman, you're probably not particularly unique in that when anybody finds out about this, they want to stop it because nobody wants their children to be taught this nonsense at 4 years old,
Mhm,
even if they're super, super kind of on the fence, don't really know what's going on. So,
mhm,
other parents around the United States have sort of gone into school boards, gone a little bit viral, done something quite
mhm,
magnificent, and then more people sort of begin to understand what's going on. And I would say, I would pull my kid out. I mean, I would
mhm,
really, really try and find a school that isn't teaching it, or homeschool, which I
mhm,
know is financially impossible for many people. Um, but also, why not you
mhm,
make that difference? Why not you bridge the gap between people that don't know anything about it and people that want to find out about it? Because you sound articulate, intelligent. You sound like you've
mhm, mhm,
done your research. I would imagine you could
mhm,
take a good deal of like cross questioning or not be silenced if they tried to sort of stop you midway through your 60 seconds or whatever it is.
mhm,
You could have take someone along with you, make sure they video it, then you can put it
mhm,
on Twitter, and we can use the internet that's the scourge of humanity. We can use it for good. And I
mhm.
thoroughly think that that would be something that you could do. Ali Snyder is in the chat. She just put a 100% because that's exactly what she did. And then the lady, I think one lady went along to protest drag queen story time and dressed as provocatively as a drag queen. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm just saying I think there are ways and means. And I think the silent majority in the United States of America is
Mhm.
absolutely ready to wake up and find their voice. And maybe you could be the
They
woman to
are.
do that
They
in
are.
Chicago.
I think they are.
Yeah.
But I think, Kelly, everyone is kind of assessing their own situation where they live and trying to figure out what is the best route I can
Yeah.
take, right? And for us, for my family, I feel like the best route is to leave Chicago. And that is essentially what I believe we've decided to do.
Right.
We are not just leaving Chicago, not just leaving Illinois, we are leaving the country because we have to do whatever we can to protect my daughter from this.
Yeah. I'm so
Especially since
sorry.
I have learned from you. I have learned from you, Kelly. You have really inspired me. And I don't think you realize, maybe you do, but you have really inspired a lot of women like myself who are not really particularly involved and in like in civic society because we're busy being moms, we're
Yeah.
busy taking care of our families.
Yeah. And who knows? We raise the next generation, right? So what could be more important than that?
Mhm.
Where,
So
what country are you going to
thankfully
go?
I have access. I have the access to because my family comes from Mexico. We are moving to Mexico. We are trying to find somewhere in Mexico where we can give her an education and give her a life without her having to deal with all of this trans stuff.
Yeah. Well, Megan Murphy left. She's the founder of Feminist Current, and she left Canada for similar reasons because she just felt,
Yes,
compelled speech. And she's found a lovely home in Mexico. Apparently, she does
yes.
karaoke nearly every other night. Every other night, though. So I
Yeah,
don't know if you're into
I
karaoke,
watch
but
her podcast as well.
well, maybe
But
find out where she lives.
Kelly, I was another thing that really upset me was anytime I go into my child's school, into the main office, at every entrance they have that new transgender flag, and I just think to myself, like, I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're lesbian, it doesn't bother me.
No.
What you do at home, what you do behind closed doors, what you do on your personal time. Why do you have to bring those flags and expose children as young as 4, where they open the door? That's what they want. They want children to open the door,
Yeah.
so that then they can say, well, it was the student that asked.
Oh, 100%.
Why are they doing that to 4-year-olds?
Yeah, well, I will round off this lovely discussion, but I went to my kids' school, and well, in fact, I asked the question. I've recently done it this week. I've just said, look, I want to know. Do you think a trans woman, in inverted commas, is a woman? Is that something your teaching staff would say in a classroom situation? Would they agree that, would they use language like assigned at birth or cis? And I got this sort of, we go along with guidance. And I was like, just for the love of God, just answer the bloody question. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think, are you going to be telling my child, if he says in a class situation that he thinks anybody calling themselves a
Mm-hmm.
trans woman is a man? I want to know, are you going to tell him that he's wrong? Are you going to tell him he should be respectful? Or are you going to agree with him like you would if he said, I think black people and white people should have equal rights? You would say you would absolutely agree. And if somebody disagreed with him, you would say they were wrong. So don't talk about impartiality.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm going to go off on a rant, and I probably should take other calls. But thank you so much for calling, and
Thank you, Kelly.
the very, very, very best of luck. It was really lovely to talk to
Thank
you.
you. I piped in under lunar eclipse in the comment section.
Wonderful. Well, I will look out for you.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, good evening. You're through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you? Have I got you?
Hello.
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 Sorry, I didn't know I'd picked up the phone. Hi, good evening. It's going to do that a couple more times, but I've got you. Hi, I'm Kellie-Jay. You don't have to say who you are. What would you like to say?
Yeah, hi. I was planning on calling in anyway this evening because I've had a meeting arranged with my children's high school this afternoon to talk about the transgender ideology that they're doing in there. And I thought I heard a couple more callers calling in about similar things. I couldn't make the meeting, unfortunately, because one of my children was ill and I didn't have childcare, so I couldn't leave her. But I wanted to call in anyway to read. It's quite short. It's a half page on the gender ideology worksheet that they've given out to all Year 8 students.
Joy.
So if I read it out, there's nothing personal in there. It's not about reference to school or anything.
Okay.
But it might be something that other parents recognise in paperwork they've been given, or something they could look out for. And of course, then if you've got any pointers of any questions or comebacks I can have on this, that would be great too.
Okay.
So does that sound okay?
You carry on.
Okay, so gender identity. At the top of it, it's called the difference between sexuality and gender. The first bit is about sexuality, which I don't have a huge problem with. They do mention the word pansexual, but other than that, it's not too problematic. But then we get to gender identity. So many people identify as male or female and see their sex and gender as the same thing. But for others, their gender identity is different from the sex registered on their birth certificate, in brackets, male or female. For example, some people may be registered as male at birth, but not identify as male. Some people may be registered as female at birth, but not identify as female. Some people's gender identity sits between male and female, whilst others don't feel that they are male or female in any way at all. There are a variety of terms that can be used to describe this, such as gender diverse or non-binary, in brackets, neither male or female. Views on gender identity are wide-ranging, and discussion of the topic has become quite contentious. This can make exploring your own gender identity difficult or confusing at times, especially when society expects us to act in a certain way. Take time to work through your feelings and find out what is right for you. Prejudice, discovering our sexuality and gender, our personal journey, but others often may feel like they have the right to interfere. Many people feel uncomfortable with the idea of that their or other sexualities besides being straight, and that people can identify with a gender that is different to their sex. There is a long history of the discrimination against gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender people. It is unacceptable, and while big strides have been made towards equality, there is some way to go. If you are working through difficult questions of sexuality and gender, don't give up. Your journey is a personal one to you, and there's nothing to do with anyone else, and they should not be invited along with you.
Oh.
And this was given out to 12-year-olds. And they weren't told to give it to their parents. It was supposed to stay in lessons. But my younger daughter's a TERF, so she snuck it out to give it to me.
Well, thank you to that young woman. Long may she reign. Okay, so something occurred to me as you're talking about it, and I don't know how we all feel about this, but I'm pretty sure some of the stuff about gender identity nonsense that you just read, I wonder if it's totally lifted from some of the things we used to talk about with sex stereotypes, like when we used to talk about what girls can do and how girls are expected to do things, because it sounds if you leave out the word gender identity, it sounds the sort of thing that we used to say to girls and boys before gender identity and transgender nonsense came along, that you can be who you want to be and you can escape the shackles of what is expected of you as biological sex. So I just wonder whether there's any teachers that have been teaching this a long time that could help find almost verbatim the same advice when it came to what we would say to little girls about, you can do anything. So that's one thing. I would go into school and I would look a teacher in the eye, the head teacher. I wouldn't bother with anybody else, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And I would say that I would take someone with you. I would make it look really official. I would take someone with you and say, I've brought this person to come in and take notes, so that we both know what's being discussed here. Because at the end of this meeting, I would like to do a summary and send it to the governors. And then what I would do is I would look that teacher in the face, because I think it's really important to watch them get uncomfortable. And I would just ask them what they mean by gender identity without using, just say, without using the word gender. What do you mean by gender identity? Then I might describe, I don't know, someone like Sue Perkins, lesbian, short hair, no makeup, wears trousers, flat, comfortable shoes, and is, not particularly, she's not a sort of soft, silly woman, is she? So I would describe that and say, what's her gender identity? And how does that differ from somebody who cuts her breasts off? I think what we have to do in these situations is not the thing that I do right now, which is we don't talk too much. We ask questions and we leave uncomfortable silences. And that is like a sales tactic, really, where people are always, especially if you're in the room and you're talking to them with like slightly raised eyebrows, as if you're expecting them to speak. They will speak and fill the gaps. And you can just keep respectfully, firmly, just keep pressing the question until they get to the point where they either say something absolutely insane, like that you can change sex, and something really so stupid and dangerous that the authorities, that the government, the governors need to hear about it, or that they admit it's all a load of crap. I think that's your two options.
That is my plan. So I'm glad that you said that, because it puts me at ease that I'm going in the right direction. I am going to try and concentrate on that letter alone and try not to go on a tangent, because I have had one meeting already where, I filled their heads with the Cass report and the Suella Braverman and the Miriam Katz situation, and the Tavistock being closed down and children being sterilised and mutilated. That clearly hasn't really reached their complete psyche on all of this. So yeah, I'm going to sort of concentrate and say, okay, so you're telling the children that society is against them. It shouldn't be, that they have every right to do this. So what would you do if a child got this worksheet, went to you and said, I now think I'm transgender after reading this, and I want to become a girl and I want to use the girls' toilet.
Yeah.
What do you do then? Or, you know, I've now decided I want to be a boy and actually I want to have my breasts taken off, but I just want to tell my parents, can you sort this out for me?
Or that your daughter, I also think what happens, right? So often when I have this discussion, I'll sort of say, whose rights are more important? My daughter's right to be in a female-only space, or a man who thinks he's a woman, his right to use that female-only space. Who, like your 12-year-old daughter, the girls in this school, and I would just, so not only sticking to like really basic language, I'm delighted about the CAS report. Don't get me wrong. And there are some people stupid enough that they need it. But we don't really need it. We don't really need a lengthy official report or even the Prime Minister to tell us that a 45-year-old man who thinks he's a woman in a changing room with our 12-year-old daughters. You don't need anything other than, come on, pick a side. Just pick a bloody side. Is it my daughter and my daughter's safety, or is it your virtue? Because at the moment, I'm not enjoying your virtue very much whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. And to just put them into a corner and make them realise that also, you know, indoctrinating and grooming children in the school, last I heard, you know, that in a political way is illegal in this country for teachers to do that. So I'm going to try and hit them hard, but also be, you know, try and do a bit of you, Kelly, and be very diplomatic and, you know, but want to go in there asking the kind of, like you say, questions that are going to back them so much into a corner that there's only two ways out, and you know, one way is the daft way, where they're going to admit that they can't safeguard any of the children in their school, and the other one will be total common sense and hopefully a light bulb moment. So well, as soon as I get the meeting back, because I'm hoping to postpone it only for a short period of time, I will ring back another time and fill you in on how it goes. So
you would be most welcome. And let me just say, when it comes to my kids, I'm not particularly diplomatic. It's my way, or it's you know, I've told the school, if you indoctrinate my son or you make him a social pariah while you indoctrinate everybody else and he's the only one that knows the truth, there will be hell to pay. Like, you know, when people talk about tiger mothers, I have the ferocity, the, you know, ferociousness of a whole league of tigers, and I would rip somebody limb from limb if they start messing with my kids.
And they know that my 13-year-old is wrapped up in the cult and thinks that she's a gay man, and so they know I've got skin in the game. They know what I'm going through with her. She's off school again today because she self-harmed last night because of all this lunacy. So they are up against a bit of a tiger mummy. I think I've already scared them a little bit, and they try and dodge me as much as they can, but I'm going to keep going.
Oh, well, best of luck.
Thank you.
If you need, do you have a support group, like a parent support group? You don't have to say who they are. I'm just asking if you have one.
I tried to reach out for a parent support group in my area, as far as around the children's school, and no, I got a lot of backlash. There was one woman who'd been trained in the EDI who had a go at me, and then they invited in to a private school Facebook page. You can only go in there with an invite, and if your children's in that year, and suddenly a middle-aged AGP called Caroline turned up from nowhere, telling me I was a bigot and that he's a woman.
Write to me on info at Standing for Women. Write to me, and I will. I've got a few at my fingertips. Parent support groups. They might not be in your area, but they will certainly be able to offer you advice, guidance, and support. So just email me at info at Standing for Women.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Best of luck. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, God. Okay. Good evening. My name is Kellie-Jay. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say? You're through
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Leslie.
Got a song for you.
Go on.
Stick your... Sorry, let's start again. Stick your dick tacs up your backside, Nicola Sturgeon. Stick your dick tacs up your backside, Nicola Sturgeon. Stick your dick tacs up your backside, Nicola Sturgeon. 'Cause women will not wish.
Yay! What a great day. What a jolly great day the last couple of days have been.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
It's so wonderful. I think she may have peaked the nation. I don't know, but she may well have woken the nation.
What made me laugh more though is this democracy. Look what they're doing to democracy. I mean, you've got a handful of Greens, is that. You've got Nicola Sturgeon, you've got her stormtroopers, and then you've got the zombie army SMPs who have been whipped into doing this. What the hell is that got to do with democracy? That's dictatorship.
It's so nuts. And anyway, they were quite happy for Northern Ireland. Now, I was happy as well, but Northern Ireland had decided that they didn't want to allow women reproductive freedom. And we, the Scots, wanted us to overrule it because they had to come in line with the rest of the UK. Now, I think that was great. I think it's great this time too, but the SNP can't have it both ways. They either want us to overrule or they don't. So I'm more than happy. Happy.
They need to get out, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, but you've got Labour MPs giving this rubbish as well. They're like, where is me? Oh, just had a...
I just really hope that they've all spoken loudly enough. That the electorate is... I just hope that they all have spoken loudly enough that the electorate has understood exactly what it is that they would be voting for. And I don't mean just generally Labour government. I mean any single MP who is speaking against women's rights. I hope people are paying attention. That
survey that they did, was it a couple of days or a day before, that actually showed that 2/3 of people weren't in agreement with this bill? That was a blinder, really.
Yeah, what fools.
That just put paid to any kind of arguments about democracy, didn't it? It was really good. And I think when that came out, I don't think Sunak had much of a choice, really, did he?
No.
I don't think he had much of a choice anyway.
No, I don't either. Well, it's lovely to talk to you, Leslie, and thank you for the song.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I think, Leslie, I just cut you off. Hello, good evening. I'm so sorry. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly. We've spoken before. I wanted to give you some good news. A little while ago, I put an SOS out to you about a friend's daughter, a male friend's daughter, who was identifying as a boy.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about it through a mutual friend. I happened to bump into him in a cafe and we ended up having a conversation. And he really had no idea about the extent of what's going on, although he was very concerned about it. And he'd refused to call her a he, though he did agree to call her by her new chosen name because it was also a female name. So I launched into a conversation with him, which I have to say, you have completely emboldened me about speaking to people about this. Anyway, I went through everything with him and then I said, I'll send you loads of links, which I did. Had another conversation with him. He said he thought she'd calmed down, but he had a conversation with her and she told him that once she was 18, she was going to have her breasts removed. So this went on. Eventually, he got her round to the house. They'd already taken her out of school because they were concerned about the way she was being indoctrinated at school.
Yeah.
He got her round to the house, made her watch a load of stuff, a lot of it which was yours. Her immediate reaction was, oh, you're transphobic, she's transphobic, he's transphobic. But he persisted. She went away very quiet. A few days later, he came back to me and said, I can't thank you enough. You have saved my daughter. She has told me that she is now a girl and she wants me to tell everybody that she's gone back to her original name. So I'm passing on those thanks to you, Kelly, because If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been emboldened to speak to him. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's why we all do it, right? It's why we're all
Well,
concerned
yeah,
for the little girls like that.
and I know, and he really had no idea. He discovered that she'd got a breast binder from somebody at school that had given it her. And it also transpired that a lot of this had come about because she's not an over-feminized girl like most of the young girls are these days. She'd cut her hair short. She was into her music. She didn't wear makeup. She didn't go down this over-feminine route that they all do now, which, quite frankly, I think they look like drag queens, a lot of them. But she wasn't like that. And she started getting teased and saying, well, you know, maybe you're a boy.
Right.
And that seemed to be the root of it. And I've been struggling to understand what is the difference between why it's mainly adult men, which is obviously a sexual deviance that are part of this ideology, but why is it that it's mainly girls when it comes to young children? I don't understand what's going on there. I understand with the boys that it's probably that they're gay and there's an internalized or parental homophobia, but what is going on with the girls?
Well, it's the same as bulimia and cutting and girls and anorexia, and girls are far more likely to have social contagions. I think puberty for girls is a lot more painful than it is for boys. Speaking just as I've only got one daughter and I've got 3 sons, but I think so there's a thing in puberty where you get more embarrassed. And you seek your peers, so you pull away from your parents and you go towards your peers. And for girls, and we know as adult women, and I know all too well, adult women and girls, we ostracize and accept, and that's the way that we bully, and that's the way we form bonds, is we share stories, maybe, which it can be called gossip, but we might share stories, but you're either in or you're out. And a lot of the way that girls feel about themselves and girls feel about their place within peers at school, that all goes inwards. And so when I was at school, there was no such thing as cutting. Nobody was cutting when we were at school. It wasn't a thing.
There wasn't for me either.
But then you'll get a couple of girls cutting, and it'll be loads of them. You know, it's a bit like suicide ideation. It's all to do with a social contagion. And I just think that trans, non-binary, opting out of womanhood is simply another strand of bulimia, anorexia, and sort of self-loathing. So, you know,
well, on that point, I don't understand. You wouldn't affirm an anorexic's belief that they were fat by giving them a gastric band. So why would you affirm a child's belief that they were born in the wrong body?
Well, because anorexic girls have never offered a human shield to fetishy men. And I think that the presence, if this trans thing was only affecting those girls, we'd have no Gender Recognition Act. We would have nobody would be saying that those girls should use men's toilets. We would have no movement whatsoever on the other side. There would be no trans movement. It's because it's happening to those adult males who are really, really intent on changing our laws and really intent on changing our social norms so that they have access to our spaces, that those girls are being used as human shields to those men. That's what I think this is all about.
I also don't understand the women that support it. I noticed that you've been re-uploading some of your old videos recently, which some of them I hadn't seen, so I've watched. And there was one in particular where you were talking with Matthew Wright and a lady called Daisy, who I don't actually know who she is. But she was going on and on and on about how unkind it was not to accept these trans women as women, men as women. And I thought, oh my God, you know, what is it? I had a conversation with one of my granddaughter's teachers, which I happened to be in the company of by accident, and so took advantage of it because I hadn't felt able as a grandparent to actually go into school and ask the questions, and my daughter's not quite brave enough. So I happened to be in her company, and I said, oh, well, while I've got you, can you answer me a question? What is a woman? And she looked at me and she went, and I lost patience. I said, oh, for goodness sake, it's not hard. It's an adult human female. And then went on to ask her what they're teaching. This is primary school. and explained a little bit about what was going on. And again, she had no idea. I quoted Sue Ella Braverman to her, and she said, "Oh, you know, I teach what's it called, PSHE," and she said, "And we just teach them that families come in all shapes and sizes, and some people have two daddies, some people have two mummies, some people grow up with grandparents, and everything." And I said, "Well, that's all perfectly fine, but what are you teaching them about their gender and their biological sex?" And she said that hasn't yet come into it. And I said, "Well, you have to make sure that it doesn't." You know, and I said, "Look, I'll give me your email address and I'll send you some information because you obviously aren't up to speed on this." She said, "Oh, I'll send it home with my granddaughter." She hasn't done, and she has studiously avoided me at pickup time since. So I'm now considering, what do I do to take it on to the next level? Because, you know, and she talked to me about how she competed in, she was a weightlifter or something at one point, and she said, "And we had a trans woman in there, and I had no problem with it."
Oh, well, good for her. Well, I'm wonderful for her that she had no problem in it with it. Yeah, well, you know, I think you're on the right track. As for being a grandparent, I don't know, perhaps we ought to maybe go and see your MP instead of the school. Maybe that would be the way forward.
Maybe.
Way forward.
So on another point, I'll rattle through because I know you've got other calls to take on. I tried to buy some stickers from your website, and I was looking in particular because I've been madly stickering for the women's, not the adult human female stickers, which I did find, but then the promo code wouldn't work, and they've since disappeared. And I was also looking for and I was also looking for the single sex space stickers because I've been using those on toilets, and those aren't in your shop anymore. Well, and also, I think your new website is fab, but your shopping basket logo doesn't work. It doesn't take you to the shop when you click on it.
Do you know what? The lady who's been helping me with this is actually tuned in because she often tells me what's going wrong.
Right.
So she will have heard you. So I won't need to mention it. She's just, in fact, do you know what she's done? She's just listed it. Let me. I'm going to put the adult human female stickers in the store.
And on the drop down menu on the top right, there isn't a link to the shop. You have to scroll down the page to get it, which I think some people are going to miss. That I think you could do with a link on the drop down menu on the right.
Thank you. She's listening in, but look, just for you,
I'm not
she's just sent this.
Because I think
fine.
It's much better, but I just wanted to let you know.
I can take a criticism. I've got very broad shoulders, but anyway, thank you.
Listen, before you go, one final thing. I had lunch with an Australian friend last week who is over from Australia. As I have been really getting into my swing with talking to people about this, I launched into it with her, and she looked at me in absolute horror, as everybody does when it starts dawning on them what is going on and they haven't realised. And her remark was, "Oh, we don't have that in Australia." And I said, "Oh, yes, you do." And Kelly is coming to Australia. I don't actually know what the situation is in Australia.
Bad.
So can you just briefly tell me what's going on there?
I will tell you very, very briefly, and then I will have to move on. But in Australia, they will transition children, young children. They are just about to pass self-ID in Queensland, if not everywhere else. It's so much worse in Australia. Australia is probably worse than Scotland. I mean, it's really, really, really bad. Really bad. There's trans activists who are suing women who, I think some lesbians recently lost a court case to have a female-only lesbian gathering. So it's really, really bad. But tell your friend to tune in when we're in Australia. But so lovely to talk to you.
I've already told her she lives on the Gold Coast. So I don't know whether you're going anywhere.
I'm going everywhere. I'm going absolutely everywhere. I'm going Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, and Tasmania. But thank you so much for your call.
Okay.
Bye. Hello, good evening. You're through to TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hello. Oh my goodness.
You're through, but I can hear myself.
How's that now?
It's very good. Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. Oh, I wanted to say I'm really sorry for yesterday. I robbed your seat. Oh, sorry, on Sunday it was. We were travelling back yesterday. It was a long day yesterday. So I came to meet you. We were a little bit late. I wasn't quite brave enough to come and talk in the middle. And then we all went for drinks. And then I sort of met you, and I got, fuck's sake.
Did
So,
you steal my seat?
I'm very sorry that I rubbed your seat.
Wow.
It's lovely to meet you. And yeah, sorry if you got shoved over in the side, and you can have the seat next time.
Oh, well, thanks very much. Is this your first event? Have you been before?
You've got us addicted. Me and the wife have started travelling the country. We're learning the country through Kellie-Jay. We started in Brighton, then we came to London at Reformers Tree, and this is our third one. We are fully TERF.
Oh, and Brighton was your first. What made you come to Brighton? What made you finally sort of come along?
My wife got approached to do some content online by somebody that's a little bit controversial. It's kind of what I was trying to get myself to be brave enough to step up and speak to people about in the middle, but they won't like it. So I don't know. I've got to think about how to phrase it. But yeah, it was somebody who does some right-wing content, and he wanted to cover some pride-related and trans-related topics, but he didn't want to get vilified for speaking on a topic that he doesn't know so much about. So he approached some gay people for sort of direct feedback, and yeah, he got her inspired to write her own article that has been posted around. I think we poached the moniker "Good Men Stay Out, so Bad Men Stand Out." And
Nice.
yeah, she wrote her first piece to sort of contribute, and yeah, it sort of started from there. And we saw your videos online, and we've become addicted.
Well, so you're going to come to Reformers Tree on a couple of Sundays?
Yeah, we will definitely make a few more through the year. I think we will follow and try and meet as many TERFs as we can and sticker where we can. I got in a little bit of trouble in Newcastle for stickering.
Did you?
Because I was angry at the pink and yellow police car. So I went and stuck a couple of women's
There was a
stickers
pink
on the
and yellow police car. Why?
Yeah.
What was it
Because
for?
I don't know. It's this trans Stonewall sponsored police car just parked on the verge in between the roads, advertising the fact that they're Stonewall or Mermaids or whoever it is.
Do you know they've come out? That Northumberside police has actually come out of Stonewall. They no longer, they've withdrawn from that scheme.
They want to wash their cars.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I really don't understand when the police start. I don't know if this is the first thing they've ever done that is kind of politically motivated, because
it's the first one I've ever noticed.
Yeah, I've never seen a police car with different colours on. It's so mad. It's utterly insane that they would have it. I mean...
No, well, it's one way to break a policeman into a little trot when he wants to follow you across the road and tell you, please don't put stickers on my car. I said, well, please don't politicise the police car, then you started it.
Well, yeah. Well, exactly. He's got massive stickers on his car already. They can just peel them off. Yeah, and those wraps are not free, are they? Those wraps are about, I reckon, $2,000 a wrap.
Yeah, they're certainly not free. It's coming out of somebody's pocket, and it better not be public funds.
I might get a really, really fast car and have trans women and men put on it, but only if I drive really fast and park in really private garages so I don't get my car smashed up.
I like the way you're
thinking. But maybe when I get my Lamborghini, that's what I should do. No, I would never do that.
Definitely.
And, it's all in my dreams. I just have to win the lottery. That's all I'm looking for. But thank you so much. Yeah. And I'm so pleased that you made it to Newcastle.
Have a great night, everybody.
Cheers, lovely. Bye-bye. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kellie-Jay. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say? Did I get you? Hello? No. Hello, good evening. Good afternoon. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You are through. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hey, Kellie-Jay. It's Laura from Pittsburgh. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. I just wanted to say 4 short things, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is that the Facebook that we have, Posie Parker, aka Kellie-Jay Keen, standing for women, is growing like mad, like wildfire.
Oh, I didn't
Which
know
is
about this Facebook page. I might join. Am I allowed to join it?
oh yes, please.
Okay.
I've become an admin on it, and I'm trying to get interest up for either a weekly or monthly discussion group or book reading group.
Oh,
And I said maybe
I
we
won't be
can get
doing. I won't be
guests
doing
on
the
it.
book reading. I just put that out there.
No, that's okay. That's okay. The other thing, just real quick, my best friend in the whole world, she was with me in Philly when we were there, and I met you. She just got a new job, and she had to go to HR for a meeting, and the HR woman said, what's your gender? And she said, I couldn't. She said, it just came out. She said, I'm a woman, adult human female. And so what, the HR woman just got real slowly smiled and said, yeah, I agree. And after her meeting, another woman stopped her in the hall and said, I am so glad you spoke up.
Oh my
Yeah, it was.
God. How great is that?
Yeah. And she and I are going, she's coming to visit this weekend, and we are going stickering. We're going to do a Kohl's. We're going to do a Target. Kohl's is, Target is sort of like Primark, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they are really, really woke.
It's really, it's just so weird, isn't it? Because target market probably isn't particularly woke. Their shoppers aren't, are they?
Oh, you have a market?
No. Target, the shop, has a target market. So their shoppers, the people that use the shop Target, which we would call a target market, not because they're called Target, but the people that use their shops, they are not woke, are they? They're not like the demographic of privileged woke people.
Exactly. Yep. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So nuts. But yes, I think Primark is just clothes. I think Target sometimes does that have food in it as well, and electricals and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
But
think we have an equivalent. Yeah.
Kohl's, KOHLS in the US is just clothes and, accessories and things like that.
And are they woke?
I don't know, but we're going to find out, because we're going to sticker the women's dressing room.
Well, good for you. It's so lovely to hear that actually it just takes one person just to break that fragile little exterior of bullshit, pardon my language, but it just takes one person to say it.
And it's a medical job. It's a medical job in a hospital.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Amazing.
That was just great. And I said, you have to post this story on the KJK Facebook list, and she did, and everybody was like, yeah, that's so great.
Well, I'm very excited to join it. I will see you there very, very soon. Thank you so much for your call. Good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to, but what would you like to say?
Hello,
Patrick,
good evening. Here from Vancouver.
Hi,
hello
Patrick.
Again.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. There was some nonsense on the weekend in Coquitlam. The drag queen story hour was, they marshaled their forces of all the Love is Love people, and there were just 2 Gays Against Groomers there, and they were also backed up by a bunch of black masked thugs, Antifa.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of frustrating. I was intending to go out there, but now I'm quite intimidated by that tactic, because, I'm not an intimidating guy. I might bore you to death, but it's yeah, how to deal with those really in your face kind of thugs is my question. Sorry, I know you.
Look, we all have to judge as adults. We all have to judge the most kind of the most effective that we can be, and going out and inviting chaos, or knowing that what you do is going to potentially cause you physical harm, and there's no upside, right? So if I go somewhere, if I go and do an event, then it might be that part of that is going to be chaos, and that creates a whole thing that means the media is looking at the chaos, and it's drawing attention to it, and it's raising awareness, which is the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
Right. And I recognize that from this event on the weekend, and it's just like, oh my goodness. Well, it was effective that way, but the mainstream media just ignored that, and it was only one sort of fringe media that was able to get the image out of the Antifa attacking the other protesters.
Yeah. What's your question? Do you go, or do you stand and be counted?
Just
or
how to deal with those people who just get so right up there in your face, because the RCMP was standing there ready to escort the drag queen out, and they didn't step in. And like I'm thinking, oh my God, these people are acting with impunity. They were standing on the side of the elected official like seconds ago, and now they're trying to bulldoze and intimidate these other people and attack these people. And it's like, oh, good Lord, like how? I just don't even know what to ask, really, because it was just so astonishing to me.
Gosh, I don't even know how to. I don't know how to answer. How do you do? I mean, can deal with people in my face, but I'm not a man, so somebody punching me to the ground is a very different optic, because I'm quite little as well. So I'm like 5'1", so it's a very different thing than if I'm a man. And I just think these are very violent, aggressive, unhinged men, and I think that pretty much all people that envisage themselves as a different sex are they do have probably really massive issues. So the fact that they would be potentially more disturbed, more likely to be violent, more unhinged, I don't know how I would. I don't think they can be de-escalated. I think if one of them hit you, I think you would have a pile on, genuinely.
Right.
So I think Canada is so ruined. The only thing I can say is, come hell or high water, please come and see me when I'm in Vancouver, which is going to be April.
And if Billboard Chris was there, I think I wouldn't worry, because he's a big dude. So I think there's less of the little people covered in black attacking him in a situation like that.
Yeah.
But so, oh God, yes. Well, no, for definitely, I'll be on site cheering you on when you're here in Vancouver. But it's just, I wouldn't mind taking part in these. But I see that they marshaled their forces of the rainbow people who showed up and were just chanting "Love is love." If you see the videos, you'll see it was really quite a scene.
So I mean, that it's just so lovely and peaceful, isn't it? So nice to chant "Love is love" whilst intimidating people from talking. What a lovely, loving, beautiful thing.
Yes, and they completely think that they're on the right, because the right people are being beaten in front of them, in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
It's like so astonishing that there's this sort of this disconnect. But then when I realize, well, they think women can have penises, they'll swallow just about anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just, these people are in a cult. And so, I think it's just going to take somewhere other than Canada to actually break this. And then Trudeau, who doesn't seem to have an original thought of his own, and seems to be reading some sort of Red Army manual, I think eventually he'll have to relent. He'll have to just pull this back, or he'll be. When's your next general election?
Oh, it all depends on the support. Like, he's just being held up in government by his other party, so they could pull out at any time, and then there's potential for a snap election. But other than that, it's 2 years from now.
Yeah, God,
Oh.
2 years.
And that's the crazy thing. This thing was supported by they got money from the Canada Council of the Arts to cover this. So it's like this. There's layers of bureaucracy. It's not just elected figures. It's the firmly entrenched that this kind of thing is supported. Drag queen reading to children in libraries by the Canada Council for the Arts. I can't believe I strung that sentence together. It's like it's so unbelievable.
Well, I think the whole thing. This is just one of many threads that really does worry about me about your country. I think the fact that the state has euthanized 30,000 people is pretty horrendous too. I don't know where it's going, but hopefully it will be so bad in a really, really short space of time that everybody will just wake up and care about it, right?
Well, that's what I was talking about with my brother. I thought, could enough sort of these detransitioners making use of MAID, would that finally be the thing? That's the medically assisted in death. If there was a huge uptake in that, would that be enough to make people think, give them pause? But it's just like it's so firmly entrenched everywhere. I have no idea how this so stealthily sort of took over absolutely everything.
I know. Well, it's the same everywhere. I guess the more so-called progressive countries seem to have fallen for it so much harder than the rest of us. Maybe that's like we're really in the UK. We're progressive in that, like, people have genuine rights, but I feel like a lot of hard work was done to win those rights, and everybody had to be convinced about those rights. And I'm sure it's the same everywhere else, but obviously I know more about my country than anywhere else. And we don't seem to do much lip service in the UK. We're a little bit kind of straight talking. There's not too much sort of skirting around the houses in order to say something. So I think that's really helped us as well. Whereas when everybody's trying to be so lovely and kind and wonderful all the time, I wonder if that gets in the way of just being able to directly tell the truth. But I'll be there.
Most definitely, yes. And then Dennis Kavanagh pointed out that in countries so where there's like Scotland versus England, Canada versus the US, and New Zealand versus Australia, it's like you want to sort of outdo your larger neighbor.
Yeah.
In compassion or somehow differentiate yourself from the other. And this might be one of the ways. Well, at least we're not like the dreaded US where they do this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
And it's because that's often I get the critique. Oh, you're just being a right-wing American approach, their way of doing things. You're being unkind, etc.
Yeah. Well, look, I will be in Vancouver at the end of April, and I look forward to seeing you there. It will be just glorious, glorious, glorious. Okay, this is Kellie-Jay. Good evening. This is Tough Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi there. My name is Sonia, and I just want to say that I'm a fan. You came across my timeline, I guess, when people were talking about trans in general, and you were the first time I ever heard that mastectomies were being performed on girls, and I was horrified.
It's just so scary. Where are you in the US? You don't have to say where,
Yes.
but you're in the US.
Yes, I am. I'm on the East Coast. And I watched your interviews on trigonometry, on British News, I think the controversy at that time was over your billboard. I recently watched your reaction to Neil deGrasse Tyson and Ben Shapiro. And I think you also protested here in the States the transgender swimmer Leah Thomas.
I did.
Correct?
I did,
That was-
yes. It was great fun.
I just wanted to address the Chicago mom who spoke at the top of the show, because
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she's aware that the governor of her state in Illinois, he has a sibling who's a trans woman. Didn't know if you knew that either.
Is that the Pritzker guy?
Yes, his
Yeah.
sister, and she's very vocal about the whole thing, and something about biology, or she has interesting terms that they are working, or him rather.
Mm.
And hundreds of teachers in the Chicago school system overall, they were arrested for sexually abusing children. Don't know if your caller knew that. The school system had put out a PSA that they implemented gender neutral bathrooms, so they're all over it.
Jesus.
And I just wanted her to know, in case she's listening, since I am on the East Coast, though not Chicago, if she needs an ear, to vent, I'm here for her. But, you always hit the nail every chance you get. I love your work. I think it's so great to see someone outspoken and bold. I was rather taken aback because you never hear anybody speaking up about it. And I know you're constantly being accused of hate speech. The police, I think, show up at your door, and you were banned on Twitter. So I was just wondering if you were reinstated since Elon Musk.
I am. Do you know what? I was banned for 4.5 years, and I think it was a Christmas miracle. And just before Christmas, I managed to get back on. So I'm at the Posie Parker or Kellie-Jay Keen on Twitter. And I'm so, do you know what? It's fun because sometimes it's unclear whether it's a feminist that doesn't like me or a TRA writing about me. And in the description, I am informed, is the Twitter link if you want to follow that. But it is, I'm really pleased that I was off Twitter for quite a long time, because it made me do things tangible, really tangible in the real world, to try and keep on about this topic. But I'm banned from I can't even sign a change.org petition because I'm banned from that
But
platform.
you are on Instagram. Yes.
I'm on
That's
Instagram.
you. That's official.
That's
Okay,
me.
so I'll follow you now on Twitter as well. I'll keep following you here. I share your work every chance I get, and I just want to thank you again for all you do.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for your information about Chicago. I think it's, it's the two go hand in hand, don't they? I mean, we look away, and I don't believe that behind this movement aren't some very, very, very well organized pedophiles. I don't mean every single person in the movement is a pedophile. I just mean, for me, those men that want to rape children, they don't stop wanting to rape children just because it's made a little more difficult. They just regroup and re-strategize. And I think part of the erosion of safeguarding, part of the roads into education and access to children, it ultimately benefits those men. So I can't see why they wouldn't be somewhat part of the sort of framework and architecture of this whole movement. But thank you so very much. It's lovely to talk to you. Cheers. Bye. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi there. I'd rather not. But I'd just like to say I don't fully agree with a lot of the things that you say. I do have a lot of LGBT friends.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the T, obviously.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't be happy with that. But the rhetoric that these people are groomers, I think, is just causing such an issue across the world, especially in America, where there's been shootings around it.
You think the people shooting LGBT people are listening to women who have concerns about transgenderism and access to children? Do you?
Well, they seem to be using the same rhetoric that you are, that it's
you think they listen to me?
These people are groomers. Sorry?
You think they're listening to me, or do you think they've come up with that all on their own?
I think they may be listening to you or other people that have similar rhetorics. Ben Shapiro.
Okay. And what do you think is happening then when if to groom is to prepare somebody, is to, let's have a look. Grooming. Let's have a look at what it says in the dictionary. Child
Yeah,
grooming.
so it's preparing someone for sexual activities. So, you know, like what the Catholic Church were doing with children.
Attempting to form a relationship with a child or young person with the intention to sexually assaulting them or inducing them to commit an illegal act, such as selling drugs or joining a terrorist organization. So let's say you could groom somebody into a cult, into something that isn't actually real. So you could groom them into an ideology. Would you agree that would be grooming?
Sure.
Okay. So what do you think adults are doing when they tell children that they can change sex?
Well, I think adults telling children that they're not, the normal isn't just hetero and cis, that you may be
What does cis mean?
LGB.
Yeah. What does
So
cis mean?
So say you were born a woman and you identify with that, you have no issues with that.
Okay. And when you're talking about identify, so how would I know that I identify as a woman? What would be
Well,
how would I describe it to somebody else?
Well, I assume you've presented as a woman your whole life, and people have interacted to you in a social setting.
Okay. So what if I haven't?
Sorry?
Well, what would presented as a woman mean? Like what?
So you use she, her, and I assume people use that, and you didn't tell them not to.
So you think just by using different language, I would be a different sex?
No, but if you had an issue with that, you may
Mhm.
have like internal incongruence with that,
Mhm.
which you may have to address.
How would you know
And
that you had internal incongruence? What would the conflict be?
what, as a trans person?
Yeah, what would the conflict be? Because you just said if I had incongruence, so I'm just wondering. You said internal conflict, what or incongruence? What would that be? What would the two opposing sides be?
So say I've interacted with the world as a man, and everyone treats me as such. They say he. Men come up to me and want to have, you know, stereotypically masculine conversations or
So sex
relationships.
stereotypes. So if a man talks to you about tarmacking, that means that he thinks you're a man.
No, but if someone views me as a man, they may approach me with presumptions.
How would you know they view it? Presumably, they're not going to use your pronouns in front of you. They don't know your name. You're at a bus stop. How do you know that they know that you're a man when they talk to you? What are they saying that would make you think that they wouldn't say me? If you and I were stood next to each other, someone starts a conversation and say neither of us are looking at that person and they've talked for about 5 minutes. How do you know who they're talking to? Are they going to call me love? Are they going to somehow indicate that their interaction with me is on the basis that they know I'm a woman?
Yeah, so they view you as a woman, so they may say love or, you know, some sexist language like that.
What if they come from up north, like say, I don't know, is it Hull where they use duck for everyone? Or is it the north where they use love for everyone? Because I've heard my husband get called love up north.
Yeah, in the northwest actually, that's something that happens a lot. But you just
come on. You know that come on, right? Let's just get right to it. What on earth? What specifically? What makes you think the way that the world interacts with you is on the basis that you're a man? What is it? What's the difference between me and you when we walk down the street?
Well, I don't think there should be any difference, but the world, men tend to interact with other men in a different way than they would interact with women. And
so how would a man, right? Okay, all right. I'm going to use that, and we're going to go to the next logical conclusion.
Sure.
So there's a man who thinks he's a woman, but he's still wearing jeans, a t-shirt, men's shoes, and he has short hair, but he thinks he's a woman. How are people interacting with him?
Well, they, if nothing's changed, they still dress in stereotypically male ways, then they will address
Okay. So
them in
that's
male
one of
ways.
that was one of the ways that you said that somebody would have incongruence. One of the ways you said somebody would know that they were trans is the way the world interacted with them. So until he sticks a dress on.
No, not how the world interacts with them, sorry. How the world interacts with them and how that makes them feel. How
Okay.
if that feels wrong.
So
For
is it
example, like if you went through life and like all guys were like, oh yeah, mate, like let's go down the pub, have a pint, do I go like and get a pie and watch the footy?
Yeah.
And no women were talking to you the way that your female friends do, then you'd be like, this is weird. Why is everyone treating me different? I feel like this is, you know.
So you think that
trans
person
people
is
feel.
automatically, you think that would be that person being trans if they didn't want to be spoken to like they were a lad and go
No,
drinking
absolutely,
football
because
down the
being
pub.
trans is an internal thing. And if you don't think you're trans or you don't feel that way, then of course you're not.
So why do men who think they are women, if it's internal, why do they want fake breasts?
Well, not all trans people want fake breasts. Not all women want fake breasts.
Why if it's internal, why do they need external validation?
Because the world interacts with you based on those external things, like we've talked about. So if you can change those things that feel more in line with who you are.
Yeah, but you do know that nobody actually views men who take
that's just your
hormones
opinion.
as
You're
women.
projecting that onto the rest of the world.
Most of the world. Not the rest.
Okay,
most.
even if they do, though, most of the world thought that gay people were insane like 50, 80
and let's
years
say
ago.
you're right. Let's say you're completely right and I've got this completely wrong. And actually there is such a thing as trans. And it's not just a porn sick fetish. It's not men getting their rocks off, but it's a genuine thing that suddenly a man, when his daughter hits puberty, decides that he also would like breasts and he wants to talk to his daughter about periods. Let's say that's all true. He's still not coming in my space. He's still not welcome to be in women's spaces with women, because no matter how he feels about himself, women in that space that have earned the right to be in that space by virtue of being born female, they don't want him in that space. So here's the example. You've got one moment. Right. Here's an example. 14-year-old girl in a women-only changing room, and it's swimming, and it's a communal changing room, which you still have, or it's a gym, it's a posh gym, say, and it's a communal changing room. She's 14, he's 46, he's still got a penis. In fact, even if he doesn't, but let's say he's still got a penis. Who has more right to be in that space? The man who thinks he's a woman or the 14-year-old girl?
Both people do.
No. She's going to be really frightened, alarmed, and actually that would be a crime of indecent exposure. So who has the right to be in that space? Only one of them can be in that space without causing discomfort, fear into that girl. That girl with that man in that space is frightened, afraid, feels sexually violated. She feels like she has been sexually assaulted and violated. Who has the right to be in that space?
Well, I think both of them do.
Well, no, that's not possible.
If you say that the trans woman doesn't, where would they go? And where would the trans men with penises go? Would that be indecent exposure if a trans man with a penis was in a female changing room?
Well, no trans man has a penis. A rolled up piece of flesh.
They do. Are you insane?
Rolled up piece of flesh is not a penis.
Okay.
But let's say she did. Let's say she had this dodgy, and it hasn't caused necrosis and it hasn't fallen off yet, and she hasn't had a heart attack from all the testosterone. Let's say those things are true.
I'm literally a biomedical scientist. It's not an issue. People do this all the time.
You're what? What?
Biomedical scientist.
Are you? Tell me about the tissue. Tell me about necrosis. How often is necrosis called when you take a skin graft off that thigh? When you peel all the skin off a forearm? Tell me about necrosis. What are the success rates in healing?
Any skin graft can have issues.
Right. And do you know the success
Should we not
rate?
let people have skin grafts then?
Do you know the success rate of someone having a phalloplasty?
I don't. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do. It's
Go on.
pretty much zero. Pretty much zero. I don't know
Pretty
about
much
your
zero.
penis. We probably don't want to talk about it for too long, but
No,
I'm
that's
pretty
weird.
sure it works very differently to someone with a rolled up piece of flesh. But when it comes to rhetoric, if you even think for one moment that your rhetoric isn't absolutely revolting for suggesting that a 14-year-old girl should share a space with that man and I should remotely be concerned about that man, then I think you've told us all more than you intended. But thank you so much for your call. It was really lovely of you to call in because it gave me a perfect opportunity just to hone some more of those arguments. Thank you so much. Oh, it does get annoying. Something happens to these people. I don't quite know what it is, but it's insane. Good evening. You are likely to be my last caller. This is Kellie-Jay. It's TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Again, how you doing?
Hello. How are you? This is getting a little bit too familiar.
Didn't mean to be.
What would you like to say?
Okay, I just want to know, when is your documentary coming out?
Well, do you know, it's going to be about another 2 weeks. So I'm going to see the whole thing on Sunday, and then we do some final little bits. And then I think it should be by the end of January. I don't know that you'll get a credit. I don't know what to say.
A credit? I don't want a credit.
I am joking. I'm a very funny woman.
Well, actually, you can use that. You can use my name as a credit if you want. It ain't my real name, so who cares?
We might find out your real name, and then you might be in the front credits, not even waiting till the end. At the end of the movie, we might just say, this was funded by, and this is where he works. Wouldn't that be great?
Okay.
Anyway, how are you? What did you want to say?
I just wanted to ask about the documentary, and also wish you good luck with Glasgow and Nicola Whitefish, or whatever her name is.
Do you know what? There was a time with there was quite a few. I think I was listening to a program, and that person was a some kind of fish. I can't remember. And then it was Nicola Sturgeon and it was Alex Salmon, and it really was like it was some sort of weird fishy joke. But there you go. Yes, Glasgow's going to be amazing. Pig in freezing, but amazing. And I am really totally looking forward to Australia. It's just, and then I'm hoping to come back to the US at some point this year because I do love it. But yes, thank you so much. And yeah, you'll, as soon as it's out, I won't shut up about it. I promise.
All right. Take care.
And you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Oh, how lovely. So that lovely man was in San Francisco. Yes. Well, what an interesting night it's been. Yeah. Do you know, I'm just going to share with you. My instincts. I may have bragged about this before, but my instincts are bang on. Absolutely bang on. I have very, very, very healthy ideas about how far people can enter into my life, my space, and my conversations. And I implore each and every one of you women, trust them. There have definitely been people who think that they have got to the inner circle of what happens here at Standing for Women, and with some of the women who run some of our groups. And we do vet everybody before we connect you with other women. And we do it, and the women that do this on behalf of Standing for Women have an equally amazing idea and reflex when it comes to their instincts, who they trust. They're pretty exceptional. So I want to say to each and every one of you that the community of women that we are growing, if you are waiting, I promise it takes quite some time to get you through, but it's worth it because we're all older women with very good senses about who we know to be nefarious, I think is the word. So we are growing steady but surely. Standing for Women is growing steady but surely. We are really, really proud of the work that we do. And if you would like to join us, it's standingforwomen.com/locals, standingforwomen.com/let women speak. If you'd like to make a donation, I thank each and every one of you for joining in the chat, and each and every one of you who called in, even that very, very angry man who used the word insane. But anyway, if you can, I'm just going to say this. If you can trust your instincts 100% and let the people who think they've got one over on you have absolutely no idea, then I promise we will win. If you can stand beside the woman next to you and you can, with or without agreement on any other issue, agree on this one and work together for a more truthful reality as we proceed through this year, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose